Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Franti.
If you just tuned in, you're tuned in to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can actually join us hanging out with Bob Kellar here today. Multi-time mayor, councilman, and always on, like Gino said, has our backs here in our community, knows more about what's going on in our community. I say on horseback on 4th of July.
You saw that.
I saw that. You stayed on the horse and everything.
Was that a surprise?
No, I know you actually have a lot of experience with horses, obviously.
I do.
But thank you for joining our show today, because we love to every once in a while get an idea of what's going on in our community. And there's a lot of things, like Gino has said, we do get very busy with running our office here, and we miss some of the things that's very important to our community here, and we appreciate you letting us be in the know. In fact, you have a city council meeting tonight?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've been on our yearly hiatus, which usually takes place somewhere around the latter part of July and goes through the very end of August. So tonight,
the whole 5 weeks off.
About 5 weeks off, typically speaking.
Best 5 weeks of the year for you?
Well, in all truthfulness, it is a break from our city council meetings, but it's not a break from the community, nor should it be.
Right.
So, over this period of time, the wife and I did manage to put together a little 1 week period, went to Maui and hung out at the swimming pool there. But there's been a lot of activities in the community, and of course, try to make as many of those as we can. But it's back to the grind tonight, if you will. They're letting us off easy. I'll share that with you. Typically speaking, we might have a dozen or so items on the consent calendar, and then a couple of public hearings and some follow-up business or something of that kind. Tonight, we have 8 items on a consent calendar.
Oh, wow.
And so, to my city manager, thank you.
So eight's a smaller amount, I'm taking it.
Well, yes. But as you know, on a consent calendar, that means that all of the items, and unless something needs to be pulled for more discussion or whatever, but you can vote on them with a single vote. And anticipatedly, they're non-controversial and items that are kind of housekeeping. And shall we say, some of the easier stuff that comes before the council.
All right. So why don't you share with us some of the new items that you're seeing bouncing around our beautiful little Santa Clarita Valley lately?
Well, I'll give you one, and we've getting some emails on it. There's a young man in our community. It's been in the paper and so forth. I believe he's 17 years of age. He's well-intended. He's an Eagle Scout already.
Okay.
He's had good projects and so forth. He's a very fine young man. But he has created some kiosk, if you will. Imagine a post in the ground and maybe 4 or 5 compartments on the top of the post. And people can, from my understanding, you can take a book and you can leave a book. And there's no charge or anything. It's just to help facilitate literacy and things of this kind. And I got to tell you, if you just take it that alone, what a kind of a fun, neat idea.
Mm-hmm.
However, these things have popped up on city property in various places around Santa Clarita. And in all candor, this is a problem. And you think, well, hey, we're getting too much government here or something of that kind. But, the other thing, and I know there's going to be people coming before us tonight and complaining that, you guys are being mean and ornery
picking on the Eagle Scout.
So forth. But I got to tell you something. You let because of not prior planning and good responsible construction and a variety of things, you let somebody get hurt, you let a kid ride it with his bicycle and crash into one. I mean, let your imagination be your guide.
Right.
All right. That's how the city gets sued. And you hate to take worst case scenario, but now you let the city pay out $100,000 because little Johnny ran into this kiosk where it was not authorized to be, and gets a knot on his head. Parents sue the city, and now where do you think the public is going to weigh in on this when they find out $100,000 of their taxpayer money
How dare the city
went to little Johnny when you let this thing exist that wasn't even permitted, planned out, or anything of the sort? There's a lot of ramifications to these things, and that's just the way society is today. So
I think you hit the nail on the head. He's well-intended, but there's a process. So if there's a process by which he can do it correctly, legally, get a permit, propose the idea, take it to city planning, how can we do this? There's a process.
Precisely, Gino. Yeah. And with that process, if we met all the criteria, if something should happen with and I'm not making humor out of this, little Johnny getting a knot on his head, okay? We are covered by our insurance and a variety of things that come into place. We permit these sorts of things to occur and just ignore it like it doesn't exist. We are going to lose. Our insurance doesn't cover us. So, there's a variety of things that come into play.
Well, once, and unfortunate, well-intended or not, but once you get one, then who's to stop the second one, the third one, the fourth one? Pretty soon everybody's wanting to put their kiosk up, right?
You're buried.
Yeah. Yep. And how do you, now it's a lot harder process to go back and now eliminate 4, 5, 6 that are now saying, well, you let Johnny, you let this person, you let this, why can't I?
That's precisely how it happens.
Yeah, it's got to be a process. I mean, it's funny, a lot of times you hear people, and it's for an analogy, and I know you being in the real estate industry. By the way, Bob Kellar is not just backing up on city council or mayor and all that. He actually runs Keller Davis Real Estate, 3 offices up in Canyon Country area, and very successful group of individuals that are great professionals. You hire some great people, by the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of experience on your team, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a good group behind us, and we enjoy what we do.
Funny, everybody's like, oh, we're just going to talk politics. I'm like, no, he actually runs a real estate company and stuff. In fact, the second half, the last part of our show, we'll talk a little bit about your opinions of where the real estate market is and how you guys are successfully helping buyers and sellers. So the analogy I always use is a lot of people will bag on an HOA because you have an HOA. I don't want to pay HOA fees. But I'm telling you, I love my HOA because I do not have a pink house next to a mint and chip house that has 14 cars in the front of my house. There's a process.
What do you have against North Hollywood, Don?
Exactly. I do love the fact that it's worth every penny that I know my neighborhood's going to stay nice looking because you have no control. Without any kind of HOA, the neighbor can park 15 cars next to you and not take care of his yard or paint his house a different color. It's very nice to know that there are processes and things to make our city stay nice and protected.
One of the most problematic issues we have is we look at our residential areas, and as you well stated, HOAs give you the ability to stop certain things from occurring and keeping everybody's values up. But that's where, for whatever reason, people decide, oh, you know what, I can open this house up to 40 people here, and I can make all kinds of money and renting it out. And in some cases, they literally rent it out. You get to be here for 12 hours, the next guy 12 hours after you. This creates tremendous problems in a residential neighborhood. And unfortunately, where we do not have HOAs, is becoming a huge problem for our communities.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more common. You look at places over by the college, by CSUN, by places like that, and then you have houses that have been bastardized like that and broken up into a million pieces, and they share one kitchen, and 22 people live there, and it's more common in those areas. I didn't know we had that here.
Unfortunately, we do. Unfortunately, we do, and I've had some very disgruntled community members, and I have to tell you, our ability to deal with this from a city perspective and it goes to a state level is very cumbersome, awkward. I mean, you can't kick in doors and count heads inside,
Yeah.
So it makes it very problematic. I reach out to people that, how about having a little courtesy for your neighbors, and
especially in our we're a unique bubble. I always call it out here in Santa Cruz. It's unlike anywhere else. We're very blessed and fortunate to live in the Santa Cruz Valley, and we're very fortunate to have people like you, Bob, supporting it, making sure we still have this beautiful community, because there are communities we've seen, like Gino said, out in the valleys that just were not taken care of and monitored, and they, over time, it's a slow process, it changes. And you always got our back, making sure that we stay the wonderful, beautiful city that we are here in Santa Cruz. All right, so we're going to go to our last segment coming up, and Bob's going to give us a little bit more insight to what's happening to your beautiful town here in Santa Cruz, and also, since he does run a very successful real estate office for quite some time now, we're going to get his insights on what's happening in the real estate today. Do not go away.